Art imitates life. Life involves poppers. Poppers is in my art.
Am I on straight?
Yeah.
Okay.
You were just hinting for someone to make a joke.
I was. I really thought there'd be an opportunity, but nobody took it.
Yeah. That's
Anyways,
true.
are you ready?
I think I'm ready.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Moo with the View. I am joined here today with Eli West.
Thanks, Neil.
Sorry, that was already an awkward start, but we're here, so it's fine. Do you want to reintroduce yourself and give a little quick background on who you are?
Yeah, I'd love to. Thank you. My name's Eli West. I am a mixed media fiber artist or interdisciplinary artist or whatever art label you want to put on it. I am based out of Denver currently. I am currently also showing this large felted wall hanging with 6 ribbon awards around it and 1 bigger award that's attached to it. It says award.
Oh.
Yeah. And my pronouns are he, they. So, yeah.
Cool.
It's my first time in Akron. It's a thrill.
Yeah, welcome to Akron.
Thank you.
Yeah, on behalf of all Clevelanders. So let's just dive right into the piece on the wall here. We'll start with there. And do you want to kind of give a little background on what it is about?
Hell yeah. Yeah. So this piece has been a long time coming. It's sort of a collage of a couple ideas. You
Sorry.
nasty. You're nasty under that little hat.
No, it's fine.
No, yeah, it's edging this piece. So my first concept was trying to create a body of work that is reflecting on returning back to a life post-quarantine and how difficult it is and how hard it is to figure out next steps for a creative pursuit. I finished my MFA in, I think it was 2021. Yeah, it was 2021. It was 2021, and time is irrelevant at this point. But so I finished my MFA, half of which was done during quarantine and online, and I think it really created this unsettling feeling of preparing for an unknown future, which I guess is like most things, preparing for the unknown. But it felt really punctuated of like, what are we doing here? What are your next steps? And so many of the shows and opportunities that I'd been preparing to like take advantage of post grad school were put on the back burner for people that were graduating in 2020 itself. So like, I don't know if you experienced that of like the shows that were supposed to go up in 2020 didn't go up, and so there's kind of that like backlog. All that to say, it was leaving me pretty stagnant and unsure of what to make and what to do and like what the hell my next steps were. So this piece was kind of born out of that. I was trying to like make something reflecting on like the rewards of just doing simple stuff, of getting back into a studio practice, of thinking about like it's okay to feel like you've accomplished something because you've gotten up and like made a bed, or because you like went out and met people, or because you made it to work on time, or because you like didn't cry in the shower.
Yeah, baby steps.
Baby steps, yeah. And so then as that was going on, I started, like, as I was working on these pieces, I was like making little like dioramas and samples of awards that were focusing on just like the things that I was considering awards. So like going on a date, or like cleaning the bathroom or whatever. So there was all these little ones, and then it started consolidating into more celebrating getting back into queer culture, getting back into queer nightlife, and finding a queer community in Denver, and being able to go out again and relax a little bit, and like unclench a little bit, and feel like myself again, you know, or a different version of myself, the version of myself I was missing.
Okay, so you said that this kind of return to your studio practice and return to kind of like queer nightlife were kind of coinciding with one another.
Yeah.
What impact do you think that had on your work?
I think that a large one was bringing more joy into the work. Feeling a lot of my practice pre-COVID was based on engagement with the queer community, engagement with largely like more sexually charged spaces, and being able to go out and like I draw inspiration from going to like a like orgy or underwear night or whatever, and like feeling liberated in that way, and then not being able to do that. It was like a lot of my work was being drawn on thinking of those past times, you know?
Yeah.
So this, like, returning to that was feeling really good, but then at the same time, it also was feeling trapped because wham bam, suddenly we have another pandemic of monkeypox coming in, and suddenly you're like, oh yeah, you have to be terrified of everything all the time again. What am I going to do with that? So this piece was kind of getting centered right when monkeypox hit around Pride last year in June. Yeah, did I answer the question?
Yeah, I don't really remember what I asked you, so
Right.
yeah, it's okay. You
Cool.
said some nice things.
Okay, sweet.
Yeah. So kind of like taking a step back in your studio practice, would you say there was always some kind of connection to queer culture with your work?
Yeah, I mean, always in the sense that I am
Yeah, of course.
queer.
Yeah.
Kind of to echo what Edson was saying on the panel discussion last night of like, everything I do is a queer act, but as I've grown more comfortable in my body and my identity, my work has been very focused on the queer experience.
Do you think it's like helped you process your queer experience, or push you to explore new avenues of it?
Oh, hell yeah. I think...
Oh, hell yeah.
Well, the process of felting, so this piece behind me is wet felted, and this lovely mask you're wearing is felted.
Yes,
as
it
well. But it is such a physical process of matting together fiber to create fabric. And that process, for me, has been really cathartic and refreshing to be able to, like, engage your entire body and just release. And then also, when it comes to needle felting, you're just stabbing a needle over and over again. And I think that act of repetition and release has been really helpful for processing. It's kind of like that shower principle. I don't know if that's just a thing that is real or that I just got from 30 Rock. I don't know. But like that thing of like the ideas that come out of your, like you get your best thoughts when you're in the shower.
Yeah,
doing
it's
something
definitely
mindless.
real.
Yeah, and that's like the felting process for me.
So, have you always been like a felting artist?
No, I started, so when I was first like deciding to pursue art as a career, I started working with upcycling waste materials to create sculptures. So like when I was like 18, I was making these sculptures of like all of the trash in my trash bin and like making planters out of it and then dipping the planters in epoxy and like just pushing it into a really self-righteous, comically bad route. And like there was this one critique I had in undergrad where I'd made a gigantic like trash planter sculpture and then literally covered it in epoxy, and my entire like statement about it was just like, yeah, I'm taking waste and I'm trying to get into art. And then one of my classmates was like, you're making more trash. You're making this trash not like not be able to decompose. And it was a real gut punch because I'm like, oh, you're totally right. And like the point that they were driving at was like, if your mission is to change the world, and this is something that's been echoed to me in a couple different ways throughout my life, but it's like, if your mission is to change the world, doing studio art is probably not going to be the thing that solves climate change. It's not going to be the thing that solves like a lot of these pressing issues. And if that's what I wanted to do, I needed to find another path, but that's not the path that I'm on. I'm an artist, and there's no way to get around it.
Yeah.
So with that, I found myself working with textiles. There's a roundabout to this, I swear.
Yeah, I'm waiting. I'm just buckling for the ride.
But my kind of workaround with that was finding materials that were more sustainable, materials that I could know would go back into the earth when they inevitably get like tossed aside.
Yeah.
And so that's what got me into textiles. And I'm not so much like, that was like a decade ago, so that's not the driving force behind my studio practice every day anymore, but that was the first stepping stone to get me into this material. And it's a really like side note handy thing about felting too, is there's always people that have excess fiber that are willing to give it to you, and being able to get that as a resource has really helped my practice, because as an emerging artist, funding your studio can be a real pain in the tuchus. You know?
Yeah, which is a great moment to mention that all of these works are for sale. Yeah. So going back to the kind of like this biodegradable component to your work, have you ever had the opportunity to like harvest wool and process it, and kind of like, can you actually just like walk me through that whole process too?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been lucky enough to work from like farm to wall for...
Farm to wall.
I know, so smart. I've had that opportunity for over probably the past like 7 or 8 years.
Oh, wow.
So I developed a relationship with a local Paca Vicuña and alpaca ranch in Colorado.
Wow.
Where I started just working there as a farmhand through a random Craigslist ad, and then, which I was like, just like the most wonderful like aha moment, because I was looking for a side gig, and it was for being like a farmhand on an alpaca ranch or farm or whatever, and I was like, that's great. And then through there, I started helping with the breeding and the shearing process. So you essentially raise whatever fiber animal, get the fiber to, I think the staple length of the fiber has to be like 3 inches before you shear it, or 2.5, something like that. And then each spring you have shearers come in and they like shave the animal. And my role in that process has been to capture the fleeces. So I've like satiated my desire to be a part of the shearing process, but when I was doing that, my role was to capture the fleeces or the blankets as they come off of the animal, and then take a sample of the fiber, and then we'd send it off to get the fiber ranked and rated to see how much we could sell it for. And then you have to like, clean it, comb it, like get all of the like
the shit.
Yeah, the stinkies out of there. And like there's like all these hairs you gotta pull out. It's a real fun. It's actually a really fun process.
How much like I guess like yield, harvest, yield, what?
I think either of those are applicable.
Okay, how much harvest yield do you get from like one animal?
It depends. Like there's a lot of variables for it. So like there's the older they get, the more inconsistencies in their fiber there are after a certain point. Like there's like a prime like shearing age, but for like an average sized alpaca, not that there's like an average sized alpaca, but for like
size does not matter.
Yeah, size does not matter. But when you get the for like their prime times, it's like a like garbage bag essentially of it.
Oh, wow.
I used to know the ounces off the top of my head, but
so how many alpacas are in your piece behind you?
Actually, none.
Oh.
I know, shocking, a scandalo. This is all merino wool that's on this one, except for some other random tidbits. Like the beard is made out of like synthetic eyelash yarn.
Oh, cool. And that still felts into the wool?
It needle felts in. It doesn't wet felt in as easy. And I blended it with some wool, some merino to make sure that it could get a little toothy. Because like the eyelash yarn, and same with merino, but especially with the alpaca fiber that I was using, it's really fine, so it has a hard time heading together. So you have to like mix it with other toothier fibers. But with this wool, which is one of my favorite things about my merino collection, is that I get almost, I'd say like 95% of my fiber is donated to me by Megan Shimmick, who is a weaver based out of Oakland.
Oh,
She,
wow.
I'll send you what her work is.
Yeah.
It's like, she does these large scale weavings out of roving. And so it's like traditional weaving techniques, but instead of using yarn, it's just the like roving ropes. And then she does these workshops with it, and they like comb out a lot of the roving the students do, and then like they just have like these like already pre-prepared wool combings for me. That's not the right word for it, but it's like pre-felted a little bit because they've been combing it out, which makes it easier to felt. And so 3 to 4 times a year, this wonderful human Megan sends me a box that's like probably like 5 feet tall of high quality merino. And so like her and I have kind of been in this subtle collaboration that I'm really good friends with her studio assistant as well. So her studio assistant, my friend Hannah, is always just like being like, y'all are collaborating on all these pieces together. You just don't really know what this like ping-ponging idea moment is. But so our color schemes are really similar, but I'm a lot more graphic with imagery, and her work is much more just like these very impressive patterns of colors. But
so kind of like speaking about like influence slash collaborator in this sense, I know that felting itself is a relatively new practice, I believe, like the last 100 years or so. So when you're
wrong.
You should school me and tell me about it. I got some misinformation.
Well, it actually, there's like some hot tension around it where it's one of the where like I like to say it's the first textile that was ever made, but other people are like, no, it was one of the first. But one of the oldest fabrics that's been found in permafrost and like, I don't know where, but somewhere where there's permafrost, is felted textiles, like man-made, and it dates back to, so, because like the process for felting happens pretty organically. Like, if you don't, like, take care of your animal or your own hair, it'll felt together and mat together to create fabrics. That was one of the first textiles that people were able to make because you don't really need that much technology for it. It just happens naturally. Like in floods, a bunch of muck and icky stuff from the floods will often felt together into fabric on top, which I have an example of that I'll show you a photo of later.
Yeah, I can't see right now.
What?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it's one of the older ones, but it's been one of the older textile techniques, but it's been gaining like cultural notoriety in the past, like probably since the arts and crafts movement.
So I guess let me rephrase my question then.
Yeah.
So maybe it's been more recently viewed as an art as opposed to just like a craft.
Yeah, I can get on board with that.
Okay, cool, glad. So with that, like where do you pull from inspiration or like pockets of wisdom about the craft, or you know?
Well, for like technically speaking, there's a lot of great like books that have been coming out. Like Susan Brown did a book called like Felt Craft that is like this great like origin of felting as a whole that like kind of feels like an anchor into that history. But in terms of artists, there's this artist Claudie Junstrung, I don't know how to pronounce her name because she's Dutch and I'm butchering it. But she does these like large scale felted wall pieces, like felted wallpaper, all from animals on her own farm. So it's really like she has this whole closed circuit practice of harvesting it, turning it into these beautiful bodies of work. And I saw some of her work at the like Botanic Gardens in Amsterdam along the walls, and I was like, oh, that felting is really big. How does she do that? And started watching interviews with her and learning some of her techniques. And then there's like always, whenever I've come across like an artist that uses felting, they seem to be pretty generous with sharing their skills. There's a few that are not, but that's okay. But most of them have been very, like, ready to share and collaborate and, like, give you tips. Like, I met this artist, Ariane Marianne, who's this, like, French felter who's been so generous and incredible with teaching different techniques. Because usually with, like, wet felting, you use a lot of hot water and soap, and her whole thing's, like, or not her whole thing, but one of her techniques is, like, you can just use, like, a little bit of water and some vinegar and no soap, and it's fine. There's a bunch of different ways to do it. I'm, like, going in a circle, I apologize. But in terms of, like, imagery, I've been drawing a lot from other textile artists, like Joe Hamilton, or, like, other, like, Guy Samim, who's not a textile artist, but they're a really incredible painter. Like, their imagery is really inspiring. I mean, there's spots everywhere. Where not spots.
I totally just went along with that too. I was like, yeah, there are spots everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, there's, like, little puddles of joy to jump into.
Yeah, a little splash around.
All types of mediums. But, like, I also think there's a kind of, like, camaraderie that comes with working with textiles, regardless of what the technique is.
Yeah.
That
it's a very close-knit community.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow, that was good.
Thank you.
But yeah, it is, like, a very easy to collaborate with people, especially if people are interested in doing more studio art focused work with it. Because you can really go into the, like, making functional goods, which is really incredible, and, like, being in, like, textile circles for that, or you can go into, like, doing, like, large scale studio visits with people, or both, or whatever.
Yeah. Do you think being a fiber-based artist has, like, caused you to have a different career than, say, if you were, like, a painter, or going back to your trash sculptures?
Yeah, I think so. I don't know how much of it's rooted in, like, it being textiles specifically, but I think that having a specific medium that you call your own is going to change your trajectory. And, like, I've run into issues with, like, what the public view or ability to understand what the piece is. Like, the amount of times I've been asked, like, how do you maintain this piece? How do you take care of it? Like, people see textiles and they, I think, naturally go to, like, this is a garment. This is something that you need to, like, wash and take care of. And
yeah.
It's, like, I mean, you need to take care of it, but you don't need to, like, treat it like, you don't need to treat it like clothing.
Yeah, like,
treat it
super
like a
delicately,
painting.
yeah.
And then there's also, like, the, like, hanging mechanics of it. Like, this isn't framed, it's hanging from, like, quilt hooks, and that reads differently to people. So I think it's not as readily sellable to a lot of people unless they have history with it, or, like, sit with it for a while, or it's, like, a really cheap piece, and they're like, yeah, you know. But like, I think it's easier to invest, and I could be. I mean, I definitely am biased from my own experience, but I feel like it's easier for people to want to invest in something that looks like a traditional painting.
Oh, for sure.
So
So I guess building off that question, like, I know you have a pretty extensive history with showing your work and all of that. So I'm just curious if you can kind of, like, you know, just give a little secret to your magic, a little hint for those of us out here trying.
I feel like establishing friendships, establishing connections. I mean, I met you through Edson, through other artists that I've shown with. It's really, like, ping-ponging through, and I think most of my opportunities have not come from, like, applying to shows. I mean, some of them have, but, like, not, like, submitting on, like, Cafe or whatever. Like, most of them have come from meeting people at openings or reaching out to them directly and letting them know that I exist, and then maybe an opportunity will, like, come along within a couple of months, but usually it's, like, something that I've been able to, like, I've been lucky enough where, like, opportunities will pop up a couple of years down the road. And it's I think in terms of, like, feeling like I've had a lot of shows that I've been in, it's been really like community building and family building and like people that are like my ride or dies now. Like I think when talking about like where I want to go on vacations and what trips I want to do, I don't plan, not that I'm like going on a lot of vacations, but like in terms of like if I'm going to invest in going to another space or going on a journey, it's going to be focused on the arts and meeting new people and like seeing what other artwork is out there. And that also has made me feel a lot more comfortable reaching out to people. Like the more you talk to people, the more people you talk to. Like no shit, but like but like sorry for rambling so much, but
no, it makes my job easier. I don't have to talk as much.
It's so hard not being able to see any of your features.
I'm over here like trying to like read your body language, but I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
It's pretty uptight.
Okay, cool. Got it.
Yeah, it's really sturdy.
Sounds like it.
But no, like I think for a while I was putting people on like really high pedestals, and I still honestly do put people on really high pedestals, but like
me.
Yeah, I mean, you're not the only person I put on a pedestal. You really should be sitting on one right now.
I should.
But I think like the first time I saw textiles in a museum where I was like, that wasn't just like handicraft. I was like, oh, holy crap! There was a piece by Joe Hamilton, and it was hanging up at the Burke Museum in Seattle, I think. It was like this large-scale crocheted portrait of this nude man, and I was like so excited and aroused by the sexuality of it and aroused by the technique of it and all this stuff, that I was like, this is what I want to do. This is totally possible to like get museum shows and do all this stuff. And like later on in my career, when I was living in Portland for grad school, I was able to like actually have a studio visit with that artist and learn their techniques and like see them as not just an incredible artist, but a really rad human and a pal. And I'm still rambling.
That's okay. I'm just so jealous, but it's cool. It's cool.
Well, I mean, yeah, your cheeks are really red right now.
I know. I'm getting a little embarrassed.
But yeah, I don't know. It's I think fiber artists tend to be more opening or welcoming, at least in my experience. So that's been a really helpful asset.
So you kind of like referred.
Full circle.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
That's okay. Last one. All right. So you kind of like mentioned that your art has this like sexual charge to it, and you've used kind of some sexually charged terms to describe others' art.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering what that like, where that stemmed from, and like, I guess that was where it stemmed from.
Well, I mean, like, I think that there are like elements that, I mean, there are elements of our sexuality that we're told to shy away from or not talk about, especially as like queer folk. And I think, well, any sexuality I feel like is pretty like tamped out in like our puritanical base of society.
Yeah.
But I've seen my practice as a way to kind of suss that out and explore it and feel like I'm not like, I don't know, it's been a really nice outlet for that process. And like I am a very sexual person anyways, and I like navigating the world as a like sexual being or whatever. Jesus Christ. But it's been a lot easier and more fun for me to do that through an art medium than just like through a conversation medium. It's hard to talk about.
Yeah.
Like, I find what the point is through making it rather than just like being able to say it. Which is also why I admire writers so much, because they're able to like articulate through language, where I can articulate through visual language, but it's not as free.
Do you see that being kind of like an undertone of your work that is always going to exist?
I would assume so. I think it's gonna shift and change. I think like this piece right now feels like a period on my thesis project. Like it feels like the final punctuation of what that idea was.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Wrong
no.
period in my
Sorry. No, it's like, so my thesis project was really focused on that like loss and longing of like safe sexual queer spaces and also adventurous queer spaces. And all that work was focused on that, and I was thinking about that so heavily. And then this kind of, I think, wraps up that specific journey about like kind of like talking about, well, I mean, who knows, maybe like the next chapter is going to be a fully similar journey. But I feel like it's a nice punctuation right now, and I'm not sure what the next full theory or like the full like body of work that's going to be like super sexually charged is going to be. Like, I don't think it'll be like fully focused on that. I think, I do know that there are, like the next series I'm working on, there are definitely some like queer kink culture elements already being put into it, but I'm going in a like little bit of a different direction.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So when you talk about like having a next series, is this more of like, you know, you have a show in mind, or you may have already been like accepted to a show or something like that, or are you just kind of making stuff and going with it?
So it's easier for me to make a body of work if I know that has an endpoint or like has a spot to display.
Yeah.
Because once I'm done with the project, I'm fine with washing it away.
Yeah.
So I have a show coming up at a gallery that I'm a part of in the 40 West Arts District in Lakewood, Colorado, at Pirate Contemporary Art, and that show's in August. I think it opens
Mark your
August 26th.
calendars, August 26th.
Yeah, write it down.
We'll all be there.
But yeah, so this next one that I'm working on is a little bit more cheeky.
Oh, like cheeky?
There will be some of those cheeks involved. But right now, so I've like got this concept in mind, and it kind of came to me in just one night. Well, actually, that's a full fucking lie. Very long time.
Jeez, you're lying to me?
I know. I can't even look you in the eyes. But no, so the next series that I have is going to be called All My Friends Are Trolls, and it's doing a series of portraits of like my friends as trolls, with either troll bodies and human heads or human bodies and troll heads. And so far, the only piece that I've really been... Ooh, you okay, buddy?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry, I just thought there wasn't enough attention on me, so I had to
somehow fell out of a chair.
Yeah.
But, so, like, the only piece that I've really, like... the one that I'm working on right now, because I have a little bit of time for this show, is, like, a, like, kinkster troll that's balding.
Oh, hell yeah.
And then, like, that's been fun, but it's not going to all be that, you know?
Yeah.
And that also, I think... I want to make money, a little bit more money off of this show, and so focusing on something that is a little bit more playful and smaller works that people might want to put in their home, like that they can afford to put in their home, that sounds like a good pathway. Yeah. Wow, I'm such a ramble on.
No, I
such
love
a
it.
Ramble on.
So speaking of like the next steps and all that jazz, do you kind of have like your own 3, 5, 10-year plan?
No.
Oh, beautiful.
I did, and then it all got consolidated during the pandemic. So, like, I had, like, that, like, plan A, that's your dream plan. Plan B, what you think is actually going to happen. And plan C, your, like, worst-case scenario that you're still going to love. And then I really burned through all 3 of those plans during the pandemic, and I'm now just kind of, like...
Woo!
I'm just, like, get yourself right, get yourself...
Yeah.
grounded. I'm feeling like I'm in a much better mental space than I was in the pandemic, but I'm like, I'm not sure what the next chapter looks like to keep making, to like get more shows, but really just to keep making, like have more bodies of work. My main goal is just have a really prolific body of work, which I think is going to be like super easy.
Yeah, I mean, you're already like halfway there, so.
Oh, thank you, buddy.
You're welcome.
But yeah, no, when I have that 5 to 10 year plan, I'll let you know.
Yeah, just call me up. Yeah.
I like used to really feel like I will have this 5-year plan, fold it up and put it in the bottom of my shoe and carry it with me. But I also feel kind of like when you make those really rigid plans, like the universe is just gonna slap you right across the face and be like, no, you won't.
Yeah.
You know?
That's a whole global pandemic happened, so.
Yeah, totally. So
So what is
chill. It's gonna be
what is
fun.
this like big prolific body of work? Like what does your dream show, I guess, look like?
Dream show would probably be like have a solo show in a nice big space somewhere. The end goal, like I don't know exactly what that looks like. My end goal would be to have my own studio and gallery space somewhere with some fiber animals, maybe in a small town.
Beautiful.
Very likely in a small town. So yeah, probably in Akron.
Yeah.
No, but like I think that like that's the goal that I'm working towards in the next like lifetime is
Yeah.
to eventually have my own space that's my own studio gallery spot that people can come into.
Do you have a name picked out for it already?
I don't.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah. Probably like New with the View is already taken, so I don't really know.
That is true. I know it's pretty much
Yeah.
the best name out there, so.
Yeah, yeah, who knows? It'll probably, maybe look at my Instagram name, like Eligible Studios, or like, follow me on Instagram,
Oh my
at
God.
Eli Gibble.
Wait, is that why? Is
Yeah.
it eligible?
Yeah, it's wordplay, baby.
Oh
Eli
my
Gibble.
God! This whole time I thought it was Eli Gibble, and that was like your middle name or just like a nickname.
Yeah, I get that a lot.
Oh my God!
But I really just want to hold on to the name.
That's wow.
Yeah.
That's like
Uh-huh.
that like kills my brain. We're gonna cut this interview off. I can't think anymore.
Well, thank you for this opportunity.
Yeah.
um,
Do you have any final thoughts before we actually wrap up?
No, just I think like I do want to like shout out a huge amount of gratitude towards you and all the other participating artists in Summit Art Space. It's really incredible to be able to come together with this variety of creators and talk about it and meet people and like really feel appreciated and celebrated for my perspective and my experience. So thank you.
You're welcome, and I do appreciate your perspective and experience. So,
Oh, likewise. Oh. Well,
this is just like an awkward grinder hookup.
yeah, I think I'm just gonna. Yeah, it's been
Yeah.
fun.
Okay,
I'm gonna
well-
block you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.